We all know what our eyes look like on Earth, but what if we were born on Mars? Then my eyes would look completely different. They would be very thick and covered with a UV filter, a thick white layer that blocks ultraviolet light. Today we'll explore what would happen if human life began not on Earth, but on another planet. Let's start with Earth. What is there to say about it? If you don't know about Earth, then you must be an alien. Begin with Mars. First, let's talk about our skin color and appearance. Would we look like Chad or nigga? Actually, we would look like radishes. Our skin would be resting red or deep orange. That's because of constant exposure to radiation and the need for pigmentation that protects us from the sun. Our blood vessels would be more visible, creating a reddish hue, like light shining through a tomato. Because of the lower gravity on Mars, we would be able to jump higher. Everyone would be like a volleyball player. Mars-born humans would have springy legs and extremely light steps, but walking would feel like bouncing on a trampoline all the time. But there's a problem. The low gravity would make everyone weak. Our muscles would shrink and become so thin they'd start to dissolve. You'd look like you skipped leg day for 10 years. Our bones would also become hollow and flexible like bird bones. They'd creak when we moved, bending ever so slightly with every step. We'd all be very skinny and tall, the kind of tall that makes doors feel short. Our heads would likely be larger too, since fluids would shift upward in the body. Earth doctors would think we had constant sinus pressure. Earth doctors would think we had constant sinus pressure, but on Mars, that's just the norm. Our brains might get used to extra pressure in the skull. If Earth and Mars had a WWE championship, Earth people would always win, but Mars people would be too tired to care. We would probably also have a wider nasal cavity, or different breathing apparatus. To adapt to the thin atmosphere, breathing would feel like sipping air through a straw. Our lungs would be larger, optimized to extract the smallest bits of oxygen, inflating like parachutes every time we inhaled. Our hair, if any, would be minimal to reduce dust accumulation. Mars dust gets everywhere. Eyelashes would be long and dense, almost like curtains to keep debris out. Altogether, this is how we'd look on Mars. Now let's go to Mercury. Our eyes would be very small, but extremely strong and shiny like mirrors. They would be mirror-coated to reflect the blinding sunlight. You could stare into someone's eyes and see your own face reflected back, like looking into a car's side mirror. Mercury receives intense sunlight, so protection is critical. We wouldn't blink often. Our eyelids would be armored. We'd be short because gravity is much stronger there. But we'd be incredibly strong, short, solid, and heavy, like a rock made of metal. Think dwarf warriors from fantasy stories, but with less beard and more heat-resistant armor. Our bones would be dense and our muscles thick like braided steel cables. We'd be squat and muscular, adapted to extreme heat on one side and freezing cold on the other. Adapted to extreme heat on one side and freezing.
Bra robber detected. Let's check what's inside. What the fuck, what are you doing here, Albert Einstein?
Our skin would be gray and super shiny like polished stone to reflect sunlight and protect from radiation. Mercury-born humans would glitter under the sun, not because they're fabulous, but because survival requires it. Because of extreme temperature changes, our skin might also shift color depending on exposure. One half of the body could be darker than the other, almost like baked bread, one side toasted, one side raw. Jumping would be out of the question. Our joints would be stiff and locked, built for endurance rather than agility. Walking would be more like stomping. We'd walk slowly but with power. Our voices would be low and rumbling, barely heard over the silence of Mercury's dead atmosphere. That's what we'd look like on Mercury. Next, let's visit Venus. Forget about playing volleyball. Jumping here is impossible. Venus has an incredibly thick atmosphere, filled with carbon dioxide and sulfuric acid clouds. The pressure on the surface is like being crushed by 1,000 oceans. Our eyes would be tiny and work as heat sensors. They would detect heat instead of light. This infrared vision would help us see through the dense, dark air. We wouldn't have pupils or irises, just deep, smooth lenses that glow faintly red in the darkness. Our vision would look like a thermal camera screen, and we wouldn't even have bodies as we know them. It's so hot there that we'd constantly be in motion, flowing like lava. Instead of skeletons, we might be semi-liquid or plasma-based beings, constantly shifting and reforming. One moment you'd have arms, the next you'd just be a glowing swirl. Our outer layer would resist acidic rain, possibly with a heat-resistant, flexible membrane. We'd shimmer and stretch like molten wax. Everyone on Venus would be hot, not just the girls like on Earth. Our skin would glow faintly from within, radiating excess heat to survive. We might not even walk, we'd drift, melt, and reform across surfaces, like living lava lamps. Our voices would be deep and distorted, rippling through the thick air like underwater groans. We might communicate more through temperature pulses than words. This is what we'd look like on Venus. Now let's move on to Jupiter. We wouldn't be made of metal or lava. We'd be made of gas, and our eyes would constantly float around, maybe even made of gas themselves. You'd blink and your eyes would drift away like balloons. We'd have no fixed form, more like intelligent clouds. Our skin color would be like blue gas, and our eyes would keep drifting all over the place. One day your face is where your chest used to be. No mirrors required because you wouldn't have a face. We just float across Jupiter, carried by storms. Our brains would be spread out like data in a cloud, and we might communicate using pressure waves or flashes of electricity. Our sense of direction would rely on magnetic fields. North and south wouldn't be up or down, they'd be feeling feelings like hunger or love, and we'd have to constantly stabilize ourselves to avoid getting ripped apart by 300 MAF winds. This is what we'd look like on Jupiter. Let's go to Saturn. Here we'd lie still like ice. Our skin would be like frozen glass. Saturn is a cold gas giant, and solid ground is almost non-existent. We'd live near the rings or float within thick, freezing clouds. We couldn't move or do anything, we'd just lie there. We'd have small, shiny eyes and tall, icy bodies. Our limbs would be like elongated icicles. We'd grow like frozen trees, branching upward slowly through time. Instead of walking, we'd shimmer and refract light like prisms. Each movement would send rainbow glimmers through the air. We'd barely move unless the wind pushed us. Our speech would sound like the tinkling of glass wind chimes. Emotion would be visible. If we felt anger, our bodies might fracture slightly. If we were calm, we'd glow like a crystal nightlight. That's what we'd look like on Saturn. Now we go to Uranus. Here, our eyes would be big and black to absorb every trace of dim sunlight. You wouldn't see whites of the eyes, just pure dark orbs that stare through you. They'd absorb heat and light like solar panels. Our bodies would be tall and soft, and our skin would be blue-green to match the methane-heavy atmosphere. It would be slightly elastic, rippling when touched. If we tried to jump, we could, but when we jumped, we'd float straight upward, like diving into water. Gravity is weird here, and we'd feel like we were swimming through thick, invisible jelly. Running would look like slow-motion ballet. Our hair, if we had any, would drift slowly, like seaweed. We wouldn't style it, it would style itself. Our speech would be slow and deep, like echoes in a cave. Talking too fast would sound like a mistake. That's what we'd look like on Uranus. Now let's visit Neptune. Here, we'd be strong enough to defeat Earth people in WWE. Neptune is stormy and violent, with harsh winds. We wouldn't just be adapted for pressure, we'd thrive in it. Our bodies would adapt for impact. Our eyes would be small, like a Chinese person's, and covered with a bulletproof transparent shield. You couldn't poke someone's eye out here, it'd break your finger. Our skin would be deep blue and tightly sealed to resist extreme weather. It would have a glossy, almost wet appearance, like dolphin skin covered in armor. We could jump here, but our height would stay short. Our bodies would be strong and solid, like a turtle's shell, small but tough. We'd be armored, agile, and battle-ready, windproof, waterproof, unstoppable. Neptune-born people would be like living tanks. They wouldn't smile often, but when they did, their teeth would look like obsidian daggers. Now let's check out Pluto, the planet that everyone unfairly removed from the official list. Here, we'd look like crystals. If you don't know what a crystal looks like, just look at this photo. Our skin would be blue-gray and semi-transparent, refracting the little light that reaches Pluto. We'd sparkle like diamonds. Quiet, fragile, and cold. We could jump, but slowly going up slowly and coming down slowly. Everything would happen in slow motion. We'd be short here as well. Our bodies would be fragile-looking but tough like quartz. We'd be silent most of the time. Our movements would be minimal, reserved to conserve energy. We'd whisper instead of shout, glide instead of walk. Our voices would sound like ice cracking, sharp, brief, and meaningful. Each word would feel like a rare gift. That's what we'd look like on Pluto. Now let's go to the father of all planets, the black hole. We can't live in it, but we could live next to it. Here we wouldn't even have eyes, and if we did, we'd see with our whole body. Light bends too much around black holes, so sight would be useless. Vision would be memory. Sound would be distortion. Shapes would ripple and twist. Our bodies wouldn't have any color. We'd be infinitely long, with no beginning and no end. Our bodies would stretch and twist like spaghetti. We'd be made of information, strings of code stretched through space and time. Our voices wouldn't come from mouths. They'd echo through the fabric of reality. Our consciousness might exist as waves, not fixed to a form. Communication would happen telepathically or through gravitational pulses. Emotion would feel like ripples across a pond of stars. Living near a black hole would change our sense of time. Minutes could feel like centuries. Now let's float into the International Space Station. Here, we still look like humans, but not normal humans. Our faces would look puffy, like someone filled them with air. That's because there's no gravity, and all the fluids in our body move upward. Our legs would get skinny, like twigs, and our arms would feel weak. We couldn't walk. We'd just float everywhere like ghosts. Our skin would turn pale, and our eyes would always look tired. Our hair wouldn't fall. It would just float around our head like smoke. If we stayed too long, our bones would shrink and our muscles would disappear. Our backs would hurt and we'd grow a little taller. But that's just because the spine stretches out in space. Sounds fun, but it's not. Even breathing would feel strange. Our voices would sound blocked, like we had a cold. Sleeping would be weird too. We'd have to tie ourselves down or we'd float around like balloons. That's what we'd look like on the International Space Station. Now let's compare how we'd look on all the planets.